Thank you for giving us an opportunity to have you this day. I would like to introduce you to my partner, Joseph. To interview you, I will leave my partner to begin the interview.
Okay, good afternoon, Miss. Well, to
Good
start the
afternoon.
interview, I would like to know if do you think you have an influence on your children when you don't speak English in your English classes?
Well, listen, to consider or to understand the influence a teacher has on students, well, it's very difficult to measure that. Let me tell you, whether you speak in English or in Spanish, you're always causing an influence on your students. So yes, anytime you are in front of a group of students, you're always influencing them.
Okay,
Answer.
thank you, Miss. What inspired you to be an English teacher?
Okay. I guess your question was that what inspired me to be an English teacher? Is that a
Yeah,
question? All right. I'm so sorry. There was a situation here with the connection. So, well, listen, when I was a student, I was always facing teachers that were not giving me the chance to explain things or to have a second opportunity. And I was always feeling like very sad about that situation, right? However, at some point in my life, I met very good teachers and they actually um, left something on me and that inspired me, you know. I understood that being a teacher is not just to stand in front of someone and start scolding them, you know, because you didn't do your homework or something. Actually, being a teacher is much deeper than that, you know. It's a huge thing. It's the way you're changing your kids world, your influence on them. So yeah, it was that, having good teachers that inspire me to also have that desire on making a change and making a difference in this world.
yeah, that is true. Teachers got a big impact on kids these days. Tell me, when did you start learning English?
Well, actually, you know, when I was a little kid, when I was just a student in elementary school, I was just being taught what the national program has for students. You know, it's just the ABC, good morning, good afternoon, I am sad, I am happy, things like that. So it was when I was studying high school that I actually started learning English. And ever since then, I didn't stop. Because let me tell you, you know, the fact that I am an English teacher doesn't mean that I'm no longer learning. You're always learning. And that's what actually makes a good learner, that you don't consider to be full. You know, you're always acquiring from people. And even me, that I am a teacher and I have students that, well, everyone understands they are learning. Students also teach you. All right. So I continue learning.
Well, thank you. Another question is, in your opinion, what qualities and skills should an effective English teacher possess?
Well, listen, when you're a teacher, you gotta be a good listener. Because I was saying, as I was saying before, you know, when I was a student myself, I had teachers that were not giving you the chance to speak to them, to explain things. Because yes, you understand that when you're a student, you have compromises, right? You have homeworks, you have to study for tests, you have to do this activity and do the other. However, as a normal person, students also have issues in life, right? So when you're a teacher, you have to understand that. Yes, your kids are students and that's the only thing they do. However, you're human. So you're also having problems. So um, being able to listen, being a good listener, that's a very good quality of a teacher. And more than being a very good quality, I would say it's a must for a teacher to be a good listener.
Mm,
Well, very good answer, Miss. I have another question. What are the main elements that you take into account when you must design a teaching proposal?
Well, listen, we have to do that every year. At the beginning of the year, we have to prepare for the new group that is coming. And it's amazing when you have little hints of the students that you will have, because you know a little bit of their background, you know a little bit of their difficulties as well as their achievements, right? So that gives you a very clear idea of whatever you have to set, whatever you have to plan for the year. Now, of course, that will be, in the perfect world that you know your students ahead of time. However, we know that, that doesn't happen all the time. Most of the time, what happens is that the following year you have kids that you don't know, that you have never talked to before. So you have to plan according to your previous experiences. Plus, obviously, your plan has to be flexible and open because you never know what will happen during the year. You never know what are going to be the needs of your students. So you have to be able to modify your plan according to those situations. So that's
Yeah.
something that whenever you're planning, you need to leave it open.
Talking about kids, tell me about a challenge you have faced with a student in your classroom and how did you overcome it?
Well, listen, there are so many challenges. I could tell you a lot of challenges. However, once, guys, let me tell you, I had a situation with a student, which he was unable to spell words, even in Spanish. That was a huge problem for him. So, well, to me, I was a new teacher by then. It was something new, having a kid that doesn't know how to spell, for example, the word coffee or water or something. That is in English. The same is in Spanish, he didn't know how to spell words. So what I was doing, what I actually did is that I changed the way in which I evaluated him. As I was saying before, you plan your teaching, you plan everything, but you face things like this one that you don't know. This student has this problem, this other will have the other situation. So you have to modify your plan and you have to accommodate it to the needs of the students. So what I did is that I started evaluating him in a different way. And at the end, thanks God, he was able to achieve good results because, that's what he needed. He needed to have that special attention that normally you don't give to students because you see them as a group, right? But actually, no. When you go and teach, it's not a group. Actually, you have little individuals, and each of them needs to be paid attention. So yes, thanks God, at the end of the year, he was able to achieve good results. And I felt very comfortable and very happy with what I did because I knew that I had helped him.
Yeah, thank you, Miss. That is a big story. You may proceed, Joseph.
Well, Miss, I have a question for you that has to do with your work as a teacher. Do you speak English with the other English class teachers when you are not in classes?
Sometimes, not all the time.
Can I make you a personal question? Like,
Sure, go ahead.
okay, uh, this question will be, tell me, how is how has English worked in your life, psychosocial, and in your day-to-day life, being bilingual helps? And if you can give us an example, how?
Sure. How has English worked in my life?
Yeah,
Well, listen, when you're a bilingual person, you have a lot of different opportunities that most of the people don't have. Having that extra advantage of being bilingual actually helps you because you have more opportunities than others. So, well, listen, it goes from little details to huge details, right? Like, for example, being able, I don't know, it happens to you guys. Tell me, when you're watching a movie in English and when you watch the same movie in Spanish, it changes a lot, right? Those are little things that actually you appreciate. And this is giving you just a little example of, we can say nothing, right? Watching a movie is like basic, but also getting a job opportunity, getting a better salary than others. So yeah, it has actually helped a lot. And especially in a country like ours that, we need to see all the time on what to do to become better in order to have a better society. So yeah, actually, when you're a bilingual person, it helps you a lot.
And I got another question. Talking about English in your country, do you think there's a certain taboo in our culture when learning English, and why?
Well, well, yeah, listen, now that I am an English teacher, I can tell you that sometimes you have students, right, that you're always trying to motivate students, right? Like you will be able to do it, you're capable of doing this, you will learn English. But sometimes, and it also depends on the area where you're teaching, guys. Because listen, um, I work at a school, and it's very different the way my students behave than the way that students behave in a school that is in a countryside. Those students, just because of the area, I don't know, I wouldn't be able to explain you why, but just because of that, they have like a barrier in front of them. And you go there and you start speaking English, oh my God, they feel so afraid. They don't know what to do. They want to leave the class. They want to just stop that. But yeah, I would say that in a countryside, for example, there's a taboo, and people has that situation in their minds. It's like they consider they will not be able to learn. They consider they are not capable of doing things, and just because it's something different, something that they haven't seen previously in their life. So yes, I would say there is a taboo, unfortunately, because that's unfortunate. However, yeah, that's what we have to deal with, and we have to change that. We have to work to change that.
Mm.
Thank you, Miss. Well, I have another question for you. What role does discipline play in teaching, and what is your approach?
Well, yeah, discipline is very important, guys, because let me tell you, you hardly achieve things in life, in general. You hardly achieve things in life if you don't have discipline. So yes, it's very important. And talking about an approach, I can tell you that my approach, well, the one that I personally use is called Suggestipedia. What is that about? That is actually um, based on setting an environment for students in which they will feel motivated to learn. As I was saying before, that's actually what I was telling you. When you're a teacher, you have values and you have things that motivate you, that move you to do things. So the Suggestipedia method works based on the environment. You have to create an environment in which the students will feel comfortable. And if you make them feel comfortable, happy, and they will feel confident on themselves, then they will be able to achieve the next step and the next step. Why? Because they trust themselves and they think, oh, okay, I'm able to do this. By little things, you start convincing them like, all right, I will be able to do this. Yes, they achieve it. Excellent. So now they feel better. Then they are able to go on the next step and so on. So that's the approach that I use, and I love it. It has always worked on my classes, and I consider I will continue using it.
Thank you, Miss. Yeah, you got a point. That confidence makes like everything in English. If a student got a confidence, he got everything. And I got another question for you. To what extent do you consider bilingual?
Well, listen, I think that's a question that normally one wouldn't be able to answer by yourself. It's like, because you sometimes you consider you're this, but maybe you're this, or you consider this and you're actually this. So listen, based on the exams that I have done and the achievements that I have got, I would say I'm 100% bilingual. However, as I was saying before, I'm always learning. We're always in the process of learning. So even if I say I'm 100% bilingual, maybe there will be a word that I will encounter in a book that I don't know, that I will have to look up. So then I would say, I was not 100% bilingual, and so on. So I can tell you I'm bilingual, but I'm still learning.
Yeah, everyone, we're always learning. And
Exactly.
I got another question.
Okay.
And being sincere, which is more difficult, pronunciation or writing and grammar? What do you consider that is more difficult?
Well, listen, to begin with, if I tell you that something is difficult, then you will have it in your mind. Oh, this is difficult. So no, nothing is difficult. Nothing is difficult. And actually everything is important. However, if you don't practice, no matter how hard you think you're doing the things good, you will always fail. Why? Because pronunciation is based on practice, right? If you don't practice your speaking, then what do you think your pronunciation will be?
Mm.
Probably just the same basic one, right? The same goes on grammar. If you don't practice on writing something, writing sentences, essays, or I don't know, any kind of story, a thank you note or something at least, then you will forget it. And that's what happens. Why? Because English is not our first language. It's not our mother tongue, you know? And that also happens in Spanish. Spanish is our mother tongue, but if you don't practice it, you forget it. And you start using words that people is just making up everywhere. And then at the end, it's like, oh, but what's the meaning of this word? And actually, it happens that that word doesn't even exist. You're just saying it because it's in right now and everyone is mentioning it. So imagine if that happens in your mother tongue, think now in English. English is not our native language, so it's even worse. So everything is based on practice, guys. You can achieve everything. You can do everything, but you need to practice.
Yeah. Thank you, Miss.
Well, Miss, thank you. Was a very surprising answer for me. I think that you will choose one of the two options that I gave you, but you surprised me. Well, thank you for being with us today. And that's all. We finish here, and hope you continue doing well in grammar, in teaching. Right. Thank you for
Okay.
being with us today, and hope
Yeah.
we will see it today.
Hope to
Bye.
see
You're
you
very
again
welcome. You're very welcome, guys. It was a pleasure for me, and thank you so much for taking me into account for this interview.
for us too. Thank you, Miss.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Have a nice day. Bye.
Bye.